Hello everyone and welcome back to Raine on Your Parade. The first thing I want to talk about is Sam Neill. I just wanted to, I have my podcast episode about Jurassic Park. I have 2 episodes about it, and in the second one I go on I go on quite a bit about how Alan Grant is like the perfect man. And Sam Neill was also a wonderful person in real life. We lost a good one, and I can't not talk about it because that movie, like I said, was such a huge part of my childhood. It reminds me of my dad, and I watched it over and over again. I knew all the words, even if I didn't know what some of them meant. And I could have recited the entire movie. I watched it over and over again. I still haven't watched it. Since he passed. I wanted to watch it in honor of him, but I feel like it might be too hard. I loved Ellie, but there was something special about Alan Grant, and we all feel it. The whole world is shook, everybody's heart is breaking, and he was such a huge part of my childhood and so many of our childhoods. And if you like dinosaurs, or if you didn't like that movie, there's not very many people who didn't like that movie, and it's good quality. It's not just popular because it was a popular summer blockbuster. It actually holds up under scrutiny as a movie, so it was just something special, like E.T., it's just a very special thing, and he made it all the more special, and it's just very hard. And I just wanted to say that, I'm very saddened by this news. Like I said in the last one, I heard that he had that cancer and that he was in remission when I did the podcast, or recovered. That's not what killed him, but I was so relieved that he was okay, and I think we all were. And then, this happened so suddenly and unexpectedly, and I don't want to be a sob fest here. I don't want to just only, he deserves a moment, so let's just take, I'm just going to take a few moments. I don't know what else to do, I'm just going to take a few seconds of silence just to remember him for the podcast, starting now. I'm never sure how long to do those. I don't really know how to do things that are socially appropriate. I'm very bad at that, but it's not really about being socially appropriate, is it? It's about just the actual heart behind whatever, and I'm truly sad, it just sucks. I'm definitely going to watch Jurassic Park and maybe some of his other films, just to, I haven't seen very many of his films besides Jurassic Park, but, and obviously the third one. Anyway, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about that, and there were so many tributes out there, even like the Jurassic Park games, where people gathered all their dinosaurs together to do a migration in honor of him. I thought that was so special, and I don't like all the AI videos about it, but some of them are sad, but it's like, you used AI, I don't think that's good, but people are trying to cope, I guess, but so, and he didn't seem, it was like one of those actors that you feel like people didn't talk about that much because there was no drama, because he was so he wasn't one of these celebrities that went out and had a bunch of celebrity drama. So you didn't think I don't know, I just didn't think of like everybody knowing him, but then again, you know, that movie was so popular that it's like, of course everybody felt like, especially millennials, felt like, you know, this is our childhood, you know. And he was so good, you know what I mean? And it sucks every time, like, somebody good is, yeah. So, but he's given us a lot to remember him by, and a lot of good stuff. He's done a lot of good, and, he will live on in his characters, and so, and that's all I wanted to say about that. Alright, are we ready for the Stranger Things, since we got taken care of that? Also, yesterday was, the 17th, so, I recorded the opening of this a few days ago, but yesterday was the 17th of July, and that was 2 years ago. On that day, my dad passed away, so, so much sadness going around, you know? And, you know, appropriately, we're watching Dear Billy. Honestly, I mean, it doesn't fit with those people specifically, because, like, obviously my dad is more important to me than Sam Neill. Like, to me, not, and, you know, like, everybody's equally important, but, like, obviously, you know, my own father is more important to me than someone I never met, but to me, like, on a personal level. But it also connects, you know what I mean? Because, like, me and my dad both love Jurassic Park. Like, we were the sci-fi, you know, I think I've talked about that on the podcast even before my dad passed, of, like, sci-fi always reminds me of the good days of my dad, where everything was peaceful, and, like, my comfort genre is B-movie sci-fi, or sci-fi in general, you know, because of my dad. Okay. And disaster movies, which sometimes they go, sometimes they're, like, the same. But, yeah. Stranger Things kind of fits in with that a little, too. Of course, my dad introduced me to a lot of movies. I loved Jurassic Park and E.T. So, and those were both influences on this. On Stranger Things, as we've discussed a lot. Also, I might be, just starting YouTube videos for these podcasts, and obviously, you know, I'm doing the audio recording, and it'll just be like a picture, but like just to broaden the scope of the audience. And because of my access to Canva now, like I have because of my website, I have the subscription to Canva to where I can use everything, so I've been trying to use it as much as possible since I'm paying for it. So I'm not using any of the AI on there because, you know, I don't agree with that, obviously, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. If you have, like, a subscription, there's just a whole lot of free stuff that is just, like, stock photos, stock videos. It's going to make book trailers easier, book covers easier, you know, without having to pay $1 each time I want to use a picture, which I'm fine with, but, you know, since I use it so much, and for my website, it's definitely worth it to me, so I'm getting as much use out of it as I can, so I'm like, well, I could just do a video, for YouTube on there and post it. That's like a podcast, because video podcasts are getting more popular too, and I think YouTube is a little more accessible than, people who don't listen to podcasts regularly, you know, getting Spotify account, you know what I mean, like, everybody has YouTube, or if they don't, they can still listen to things. It's just easier access, so I might do that, but whatever platform you're listening to this on, yeah, it's fine, but it might be YouTube, so I'm not going to go back and do all of them. I'm just going to start, you know, from here, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? I've been having some emotional, you know, things, so I'm not going to go into that because it's not relevant to Stranger Things exactly. It might be as we go along. And like I said, maybe I didn't mention it, but there's a thing in this episode that really, reminds me of my dad, because he loves Stranger Things too, and it was in the trailer of, like, Max going into the air, and so, like, when I watched the first episode of the season, back when I first watched it, and I saw what happened to Chrissy, I was like, I remembered that Max also was floating, and I was like, no, this is not what this means, and so this episode really freaked me out. But, like, I was watching the season for the first time at my house, and it was the middle of the day, but I got too scared. So literally, like, by episode 4, I had to go over to my mom's and, like, watch it in the bedroom to, like, not spoil it for someone else. And, because my parents were going to watch it later at the same time as each other, and, like, with me. And, because my mom was at work, so they were waiting. But, like, I, of course, watched it immediately, but I was watching the 4th episode in my mom's bedroom, and, my dad had to go, like, he went to the bathroom, and, like, because the bathroom was in her room, and, like, when he came out, he saw Max floating in the air, and, like, she was literally floating in the air like she does in this episode, and he was literally like, where's she going? It cracked me up so much, and I was like, that is epic. It's just, if you knew him, like, it was just so funny. He's like, well, where is she going? Like, casually. But I know he was actually concerned, because, like, he watched the show, and he knew who she was, and he was like, I know he was, like, actually concerned, but he said it so casually. He was like, where is she going? And I'm like, that's kind of funny. I was like, it's hard to explain. You're just gonna watch it from the start. But, and then we did. But, he never got to see the 5th and final season, and he never got to see the final season of Resident Alien, which, he loved that. That was one of his favorite shows of all time, and it's insane to me, because, I watched the final season of Resident Alien, and the very last episode had a major reference to Shawshank Redemption. And that was the last movie my dad watched over and over. Like, he loved to watch movies over and over, and he loved Shawshank Redemption. Anyway, like, he watched it all a lot of times. But, like, right when he was getting worse, like, and he, like, was logged into my Amazon on his TV, because I logged in my stuff on his TV a lot. Because it's easier for me to get accounts, like, because he wasn't, like, that computer savvy. So, like, I would always just log him into my accounts, and, like, he was logged into my Amazon, and he, like, didn't know that, like, in order to watch Shawshank, you had to pay for it, so he just clicked it anyway, and then he was like, I'm really, like, he was scared, he was like, I'm sorry, like, I think I accidentally, like, bought this movie, and I'm like, that's fine, like, it was $10 or something, like, I don't, like, yeah, I don't know, it was just like, yeah, that's fine, like, I mean, it was my account, so I paid for it, but I'm gonna be mad about that, like, he was in a hospital bed at my mom's house in her living room, like, he was not able to walk at that point and things, and I'm like, rent all the movies you want, I don't even care about overdraft, you know what I mean, like, if I even on my, like, you know what I mean, it's like, whatever you want to do is fine, like, anyway, I'm getting emotional, but, I haven't watched Shawshank. I didn't watch it with him when he was watching it, but he watched it, like, several times, because it was on my account, so I could see, like, how much he watched it, and he watched it several times within, like, the last 2 weeks of his life, and it's like, I know that means something, because I know what the movie's about, and so, I haven't watched it since he died, because I don't know if I'll be able to, but it was really hard to even watch Resident Alien, but, yeah, I just wonder what he was feeling and what that movie was, if it was comforting to him in some way, because I know it could be, because I know how, I know the plot and the message of it and the themes, but, like, I just don't know, and, I know that when I watch it, I'm going to see a lot of things that, stand out more just on rewatch and with that context, and, but, like, with Resident Alien, like, the very last episode, and like, in the last season, at some point during the middle of the season, they made a few references to Tiwanaho, you know what I mean? Like, they were talking about Shawshank in the last season, and the very last episode was, like, the very last shot was a reference to Shawshank, and I'm like, how could this be? Just, like, it was like it was meant to be, like, just directly related to my dad, you know what I mean? Like, they did it for him or something, like, I was bawling my eyes out. Like, the last episode was sad, you know, and, anyway, so I was already crying, like, sort of, like, it wasn't, like, tragic, but it was, like, a sad episode, but it was, like, saying goodbye, you know, to the show, and then they had that very last reference to the very last, like, shot. I'm pretty sure it's, like, literally the last shot is, like, a reference to the biggest thing in Shawshank, and so, like, or like, the last shot in Shawshank, I think, and I'm like, what, how is this a thing, whenever it's, like, the two things that are, like, were, like, the last things my dad were interested in the most, like, he like, Resident Alien, he called it Alien, he's like, when does Alien come back on, and, like, he loved it, and it is a fantastic show. Alan Tudyk, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but, Alan is fantastic, you know, obviously, but that show, you know, and of course I love Resident Alien because of, you know, all the great, accurate Native American representation, like, they have Native actors, and, like, it's not, like, about the past, it's, like, a current Native representation for current Natives, you know what I mean, like, it's not, and, you know, I'm not saying that talking about the past is bad, I'm just saying that, like, we barely have any, you know, it's always, like, a lot of Native representation is about, like, well, Res Dogs was pretty, you know, was literally directly about, like, current conditions and lives on reservations, but, like, Resident Alien's not even technically about that, but, like, they have a huge Native population in the show, and it's just, it's put in there so casually that it's just, like, it feels very, like, natural and good, and, like, they weren't, like, shoehorning it in, or, like, trying, it just feels very, it's just great representation, and I love it, and, I love, like, Asta is, like, the main character, pretty much, besides the, obviously, Harry, you know, the alien, but yeah, I totally recommend Resident Alien, but Dad called it Alien, and, you know, like, he was watching Shawshank, and, you know, it just is insane to me that they did that, and I was sobbing uncontrollably, and I told Alan about it on Twitter, just because I'm like, I want him to know that it mattered, you know what I mean, like, I know how I feel when I write stuff, I want people to tell me if something, you know, matters to them, and I also, like, you know, when Dad was in the hospital, I told Alan on Twitter about, you know, my dad loving the show, and he's in the hospital and stuff, and he, like, liked my tweet, and, I don't know, that just, it's just, you know, craving that connection with people through art, and, like, I'm not, like, a celebrity, you know, like, we've discussed this on the podcast, but, like, you know, I was talking about this on, like, my first article on Medium about, like, Youngblood, and how, you know, the first time I heard Hated, like, a few years ago, was, I was just like, this guy is so freaking authentic. This is the real deal. And, like, the most real deal of anybody I've seen in a very long time, you know, and, like, it just hit me. Like, not only did I relate to the song, but I was like, I feel like, I know he's real, you know, and, like, I didn't even know, like, his whole attitude towards, like, the community and, like, sharing love and being, you know, like, the way he is, and everybody knows how he is. And you know, the more I found out, the more I was like, I knew he was like this. Like, I could sense it just from the song, you know what I mean? And so, like, just from one song, without any background information on this kid whatsoever, like, I was just like, this is the real deal. He's about it. You know what I mean? He's about it. You don't put yourself out there like that and say that shit without being authentic and about it. And I'm like, you know, you just know, you know. Real recognize real, you know, and that's kind of what my article was about, but it was kind of meaner than that. I hope people don't think I'm super mean, but it's like, it's not about me. It's not like, oh, I'm a real author and you're not, because I'm blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not even about me. Like, it's about, like, I know it, you know what I mean? Because I know that I, am, doing this, but, like, that's not even who, like, I'm not, like, mad on my behalf. I'm mad on behalf of, like, Kurt Cobain, who literally died for his art in a way, like, everything, like, people who have put everything out there, everything, and, like, suffered for it, and, like, even some people literally have died for it, and, like, I mean, I know that's not why he died specifically, like, he didn't die because he was a musician, but, like, you know what I'm saying, like, the pressures of being an artist, and the pressures of, which he was, there was, like, an article not long ago that was, like, there's, like, kind of proof that he was murdered, but that's not surprising to me, but, like, he was depressed, actually, and Chris Cornell was actually depressed, and it's, like, because of, the burden, and it's not, like, I'm not saying that, like, people have to feel physical or emotional pain to be good at art. I don't think that's true. I don't think all art has to be about pain or sadness to be good. I'm just saying that, like, it has to cost you something. Like, it's not just, you can't just phone it in. People can tell. And, like, the fact that there have been people who, you're trying to jump on a bandwagon of something that, like, you don't understand when you're not authentic, and, like, it makes me mad just because of, like if Youngblood, even if he has the talent, because he does, like, even if somebody has the talent and they are afraid or don't go there, or they, like, I want people to like me, so I'm not gonna, like, say things that might upset people. Like, I know it's hard and scary, but, like, the fact that, like, there's so many people out there doing it, and the fact that Youngblood put out the song Hated and, like, confessed to a lot of things that, like, could have turned some people off, you know what I mean? And he didn't care, because, like, he was trying to reach the hurting people that relate to that, and it's like, if he had cowered out, or chickened out of that, like, it wouldn't have got to me. And, like, and it's not just about me, but, like, just in general, an artist putting something like that out there, and then it reaching people, that's the purpose of it. That is the purpose of it. That is the main purpose of it. And, like, to chicken out, or you don't even know what that's about, that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it so people will like you, or think you're cool, or whatever, like, that pisses me off, like, and it's not because it's like, well, you're a phony and I'm real and I'm better than you. It's not about me, just, like, it's about all the people that, like, need something real to get them through the hard times, it's all about, all the people who have given something real and, like, suffered to give someone, like, there's true pain and suffering involved, and it's not even, like, or people that even, like, write something encouraging through their pain, or, just so many things, and it's like, I mean, I wrote the whole article about it, but if you think, like, oh, she's mean, it's like, or she's snobby, like, that's the new thing that's, like, being said about me by people I know, but, like, I'm like, so, like, a few months ago, I was stupid and uneducated and a loser, but now that I'm, like, getting some success in, like, professional interviews, you're like, you're snobby, and it's like, well, that was a quick turnaround from you're a loser to you're snobby, you know what I mean? It's like, I see just a minuscule amount of any success, and people are like, well, now we gotta turn her, well, I can't say she's a loser anymore, I gotta call her snobby. It's like, come on now, like, come on. Like, I'm not offended by that. It's just like, it's like, oh, really? So now that's the thing? Like, like, and that's, like, part of the reason why, like, some similar people that are trying to, like, are behind the scenes, like, attacking me, like, literally sending me Facebook messages, like, attacking me outright, saying insults to me, calling me, like, insulting me about, like, the way I look, or my hair, like, just very juvenile nonsense, like, literally bullying, like, you're stalking my Facebook, and then I call you out for stalking me, and then you send, like, very mean, insulting things that aren't true and I don't care about, but it's like, you're gonna play the victim in front of people. What if I showed them all the things you said to me? Like, you're much more of a bully than I am. And then you're gonna act like, oh, she thinks she's better. It's like, no, you apparently think you're better, but like, it's just, people out literally sending me messages, bullying me, and like, I'm trying to, like, not call them out, but like, I mean, I have, but like, if I even defend myself at all, they're like, oh, see, I told you she was mean, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, you push my buttons repeatedly, and then when I finally, like, defend myself, you're like, she's attacking me, and it's like, I didn't even want to talk to you, like, like, me ignoring your messages is attacking you, like, you're mad because I'm not giving you the attention you so desperately crave, like, when you bully me and attack me and send me mean messages and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that, you're like telling everybody in real life or, in public, like, oh, she's so snobby, she's so mean to me, look what she said on Facebook, like, like, trying to prove that I'm mean to them when it's like, I didn't even respond to your, like, bullying, like, it's crazy. But anyway. Yeah, but that's just, whatever it is. Anyway, this is about Stranger Things, so let's get into that. We're watching Dear Billy, Season 4, Episode 4, Dear Billy. And this is one of the, most critically acclaimed, like, all the audience, like, this is one of the, like, favorite episodes for, like, just about everybody. And so, it's good. It is good. Like, it's well-deserved. So anyway, I thought there was something on my screen, but, like, those are trees in the dark night. Okay. Hey, had a little setback. I was supposed to record this earlier than I am now, but I had a little Angela moment. Not me being Angela, somebody else acting like Angela. So, when you're on the brink of, like, I'm just about to get over this, maybe I should just let this go, and then, like, that person reminds you, like, oh, this is never gonna change, is it? Like, you're always gonna be like this. I could say so many things, but I was gonna do a freestyle poem, which I did record it, but I posted it as a podcast episode, and they rejected it because I think I said something inappropriate at one point, maybe, I don't know, but whatever. I'm taking the freestyle poem and I'm turning it into a regular poem, but of course I'm, like, editing it down from what I'd said. I just went with, like, my feelings, but whatever. It was interesting, and maybe someday I'll do it for real for the podcast, but, like, I might start leaning into, like, more of my writer life. I did do some updates to my website as well. I found out how to make other pages, which I didn't know was a thing I could do on Canva, but, like, once I realized that, I'm like, oh, I can do a lot more stuff, and I'm still planning to add more, but, like, right now it's pretty cool, and, like, there's a little, because of my mystery series, there's a little hidden thing there that, and I'm not going to say what it is, or it's not necessary if you're going to read the thing. It's just one of those little fun things that, like, if you stumble upon it, you're going to be, like, pleasantly surprised. So it's a little fun. I think things like that are fun, and, like, if, like, I would enjoy that as, like, a reader of somebody's who, like, I like little Easter eggs like that. Like, Mr. Robot had these, like, if you call this number, then it'll give you a website, and it'll go to this, and it'll go to that. Mine's not that elaborate, obviously, but it's just, I like things like that, so. Anyway, that's fun. Okay. Now we can actually get into watching Stranger Things. I'm not going to talk about my personal life right now, but yeah, I'm going to lean maybe eventually after we get the Netflix, after we get the Stranger Things done. I've got other things I want to talk about, like shows and stuff, but I don't think I'm going to do, like, a episode by episode thing, like a major series. I might do short series, like something that's one season, or just go, like Kevin Kneff himself. I really want to talk about that show. I might go through that, but that's only 2 seasons. You know what I mean? Like something shorter, and like because I've got so much going on with my writing, like using the podcast to talk, which it was supposed to be part of that too, but like I'm going to start incorporating more of my like writer life into my podcast instead of just TV shows, which this informs my, writing too. Like I consider like consuming any story as training, sort of, or like, obviously, we can only output what we input, and so like reading, of course, is mandatory for being a writer, regardless what anybody else says or thinks is cool to brag about, for weird reasons. I don't read. I'm gonna be a writer, and I don't read anything. It's like, that's a weird flex. Literally the opposite of a flex, but okay. But anyway, I think that, like, reading definitely is important, like, the most important, but, like, consuming any sort of story is a part of all of that, like, and like, watching visual stories helps with writing a lot, because of, like, if you're watching very closely, it's like, you see, like, certain facial expressions, you know what I mean, like, you want to get, like, if a person feels this way, they're going to make this face, which you know that already, but, like, many people do different things, and, like, if you see a very unique way of, like, handling something, or, there was a very specific, unique way of, like, in Bates Motel, when Dylan was, like, mad about, like, Norma, you gotta put Norman in a, mental hospital. I think he killed somebody, and, like, they're arguing about Norman, and then, like, the spoiler for Bates Motel, but, like, he like, stomps away, and, like, of course, the staircase is, like, huge, and, like, Dylan's, like, stomping down the staircase away from Norma, because they were, like, arguing, and then Norman comes out of the hotel, and he's like, Dylan, what are you doing? And Dylan runs to him, and you think he's gonna haul off and hit him or something, because he was just arguing about him, and he knows that Norman's, like, probably killed somebody. He grabs Norman as hard as he can and pulls him into a hug, and I was just, like, in awe of that moment, because I was like, and he hugs him, and he's like, please let her get you help. Please talk her into getting you help. Like, he's like, please. And, like, he loved Norman, and, like, it was just so beautiful, because it was so unexpected, but loving, and it was my favorite moment of the whole series. Like, it was so great, and I'm like, that kind of thing is, like, these unexpected, like, moments are so wonderful, and, like, visually, you can kind of only get the impact of that visually. Like, you can get it in reading, obviously, but, like, you can do the same kind of scene, but, like, visually, it was so unexpected, and, like, it was amazing. And there's so many things like that, like, it really helps with, the art of storytelling. I finished my children's book. I'm going to shop it out to actual, like, traditional publishers, and, see what happens there. I might eventually, like, if that doesn't work out, I'm going to self-publish eventually, but I'm going to try for traditional first, because this is, like, a thing. It would be more in the vein of, like, child trauma specialist, children's books to use for that kind of thing, and the subject, the very specific subject of it is, like, I have, as far as, like, any books that are, like, well known, there is none on this specific subject, so, like, it's important, that we do that. So, anyway, and, like, the ultimate goal is, like, to help children. Like, that's my only goal, and, like, I can come back and refer to this if people get mad about it, because it's kind of based on real life, but anyway, Stranger Things, like, people are gonna be mad, I know, but, like, helping children is more important to me than people not being mad at me. Anyway, Stranger Things, Chapter 4, Dear Billy.
Sorry, I guess I'm having trouble understanding any of you.
That is the cutest note in history. I'm having trouble with hearing this. Headphones, whatever. Okay, so we come back and they're in Lenora with the boys, and the government is talking to Mike and Will and Jonathan about 11. They're like, where is she right now? And she's like, I can't tell you that. She's trying to get them on board to trust them and stuff. And Mike's like, how do we know we can trust you? And she's like, 11 trusted us. We're with Owens. And she gives Mike a note from 11. And it says, Mike, I've gone to become a superhero again. From L. Girl. We know what that means. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna be a bitch about this. Like, I love her. Like, throwing shade even in this moment. And, like, it's so... But she, you know, it's also pretty good confirmation that, like, she said, I've gone to become a superhero again. Like, from L. Like, only... You know, like, that's very, like, clearly 11. There's things in there that only she would know about. And, of course, her handwriting is atrocious. It's so cute, though, in a way. Like, it's sad, but it's also very her. Okay. So we got that part taken care of. I don't know if we're going to spend much time in Lenora in this episode. Well, yeah. This is major. Like, it's been a minute, so, like, I'm trying to recalibrate and, like, get back into, like, where are we right now? No, I think, yeah, a lot of stuff is going to happen in this episode. But anyway, I don't even know if we see 11 in this episode. I'm scanning it because you can see, oh yeah, we did that. We're doing this. We're doing this. Oh my gosh. And this is insane. Yeah, this is major. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think 11's in this episode besides, like, Max's memories. Okay. Stupid. Anyway. I made Max in the future, like, a doctor in my fanfiction that I haven't posted yet. And I think that's pretty good because she's explaining, like, her vision of the grandfather clock, and then she's, like, explaining, like, in the files of Miss Kelly, Fred and Chrissy, like, have all the same symptoms that she's been having. They had, like, Chrissy had hers for 7 days, and then she died, and then Fred had his for 6 days, and then he died. It's been like a couple days, you know what I mean, like 5 days basically, and she's like, the thing about Fred and Chrissy is, like, they both died 24 hours after having their first vision, so, like, she's had a vision of this grandfather clock, so, yeah, she's like, I don't know how long I have, like, she's diagnosing herself, and, like, it's pretty sad. Like, the nosebleed, and she's like, Vecna's curse. She's one of his victims, and he's torturing her, and they have to find a way to save Max, and oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, we know what happened to them, and it's like, yeah, you know, bad news. Freaking love Max. She's like, look like I'm gonna die tomorrow, and then they hear a clang, they hear a noise, and Steve takes a big lamp and goes to see what the sound is. With a pink furry lamp, Hannah. But this is a large lamp. It's like a floor lamp. And somebody comes in, and, like, somebody comes running in with a flashlight. And Steve's, like, starts yelling and, like, threatening with the lamp. And then it's Lucas, and he's screaming. He's like, it's me! It's me! Steve is like, what's wrong with you, Sinclair? And he's like, I was biking for 8 miles. Just give me a second. Shit. I'm sorry, but, like, Caleb in this season especially is top-notch acting. Like, honestly, he's, like, stepped back from acting right now to, I don't know, rekindle his faith in Jesus, which I totally approve of. But I do hope that eventually he's, like, back to acting, because he's gifted, you know what I mean? That's great. But anyway, and this season, let me tell you, this kid deserved a freaking Oscar, Emmy, whatever. For TV it's Emmy, but yeah, I cannot believe he was robbed of an Emmy for the season. I'm not kidding. Anyway, this is Lucas's big comeback to the fold moment of, like, you know, he led them astray to the cabin and then came back here to warn these guys, and he's like, Dustin, we have a problem. Jason and Andy and Patrick are all after Eddie, and they think you know where he is and you're in danger. And, like, way to come through for the home team, buddy. Like, I love it. Yes, thank you. Like, you know, he's a real one, you know what I mean? But awesome. I love that. I love that turnaround. To his, you know, actual loyalties is with his real friends, you know. And so, but Dustin's like, yeah, that sucks, but, like, we have more problems way worse than Jason right now. And so he looks back at Max, and, like, Lucas looks over at Max, and he's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? And, like, he cares the most about Max of everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, yikes. So they have to fill him in on what they've discovered about Max. So Erica accidentally lets Jason in on the fact that, like, Dustin is Lucas's friend more than he is Erica's. But she's like, he's like, we were gonna go out. Like, Jason comes over to the Sinclairs, and, like, Erica has to answer the door, which is great because she tells him off a little bit. She's like, he's like, we were supposed to go out, and she's like, I see he's taking a step down from Max. It's like, oh gosh, I love that. Not like the, you know, like, she's kind of, like, homophobically making fun of him, but, like, the fact that, like, I'm laughing at the fact that, like, she automatically clocks him as being, like, not as good as Max. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part I like. But, she's like, your cheater boyfriend's probably with Dustin right now. And so he's like, we've been tricked, boys, when he goes back to the car. And it's like, she's been covering for Lucas for 2 days, and he's, like, hanging out with Dustin. Well, actually, he's been hanging out with these guys, but, like, last night he went. It's the next day. And so they're back in the Wheeler's basement, which I guess Nancy is there. So it's okay. Because I'm like, they're hanging out at Mike's, and he's not even home. But I guess Nancy is there, so. This is the safest place to be. They're all like, this is our basement. It belongs to the entire group. Okay. So, home base basement, which they did not utilize enough in season 5. Like, they had a separate thing, and it's like, I get it. Like, you need more, but, like, you know, because, like, you're doing that. Whatever. We'll get there when we get there. But anyway, it just, I like the basement. I like the, you know, I don't want y'all to be professionals. I want you to be in this basement, you know, like, with the toys and stuff, you know, like, that's the real deal. But whatever, we'll get there next season, if we ever get to the next season. Okay. So anyway, so they're trying to figure out, like, how Vecna's, like, 11 didn't create that upset. There's a lot of lore exploring here, but we do get answers eventually by the end of the show. But, you know, they're talking about when was the like, Dustin's like, the Upside Down could have been around for thousands or millions of years, predating the dinosaurs, and, you know, 11 just opened a gate to it. And Steve was like, still, Victor Creel is the only survivor of this curse if he was cursed by Vecna, and that was in the 50s, and so he just kills one family and pieces out for 30 years, and now he's killing random teens. I don't buy it. And it's like, what is the disconnect? And it's like, well, we're getting there slowly. But they want to talk to Victor Creel, who is possibly Vecna's only survivor. And so, oh my gosh, I love this season, because, like, when we do get the answers to this, it makes so much sense. I love it. But anyway, Nancy and Robin come downstairs, and they're like, we have an idea. They faked their own credentials from a college, and they called Penhurst Asylum, and they've got a meeting with the director, and they're going to try and talk him into letting them talk to Victor Creel. They're pretending like they're doing a paper on paranoid schizophrenics. And so there's only 2 of them, Ruth and Rose. And Steve's like, where's mine? And she's like, you're staying here. And he's like, I'm not going to be the babysitter again. They go to Nancy's room, and he's complaining because he doesn't want to be a babysitter. And she's like, they're not babies anymore, and Max is in real danger. She needs people around her. And, like, Robin comes in her room, and she's like, oh my gosh, you have a like, first thing she says, oh my gosh, you have a Tom Cruise poster. And then she's like, you have a Tom Cruise poster. And, like, kind of motions with her hand to Steve. And I'm like, do people really think he looks like Tom Cruise? Because I don't think so. But anyway, she's implying something, and Nancy's like, that's old. And it's like, you did change your wallpaper. She painted her room completely pink instead of pink and white stripes, which I'm like, what's the point of that? Whatever, it looked cute before. I don't know. So they're all kind of arguing, and Robin is just excited to see, like, Nancy's domain and, like, really read her for everything, you know. She's like, I'm gonna read you by your room, and I'm gonna totally just... She's just a ball of chaos, which is kind of fun. Nancy is so annoyed by her, but, like, I love it. And Steve is bitching, as usual. Nancy is gonna make them dress up like Pollyanna. Because Nancy is telling Steve, like, we need, like, an academic... He's an academic scholar, and we have to convince him we are too. And Robin is like, there's a little ballerina in here. Steve's like, she's giving academic scholar, and she's like, no, but she will, and pulls out this, like, really horrendous top. And, yeah, it's ridiculous. So, we go to, where are we now, Alaska? We're hopping all over the place. What kind of wallpaper is this in this hotel room? Joyce and Murray are in a hotel room, and Hopper would blow his top if he knew she was in a hotel room with another man. Well, possibly not, if it's Murray. And so, I'm trying to see what kind of birds are on the wallpaper here. Does not actually matter, but it's still weird. Okay, so they're trying to get a hold of Yuri, I guess, and from this hotel room. Okay, that's a funny line. She's actually trying to get a hold of her kids. And he's like, you can check on your kids later. He's like, there are a few things in life you can be late to. A dentist appointment, sure. A 1-year-old's birthday party, that little idiot's not going to remember. Okay, that's a top-notch line. But he's like, a ransom exchange is not one of those things that you can be late to. And so, yeah. And again, we're in Russia with Hopper, and he is shuffling out of his room, and we're going to see Antonov is telling him, Antonov is, what do they call him? Enzo. Its real name is not Enzo. It's Antonov. But he's telling Hopper, like, you go through the forest, you go to this place, you go to that place, you meet Yuri, blah, 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 blah. And Hopper's like, so you heard from her? And he's like, yep, they arrived last night. They're meeting Yuri soon. So Hopper... Yuri's like, Enzo's like, by tomorrow you're eating Enzo's with your sexy woman. And Hopper's like, she's not my woman. He's like, of course not. She saves your life because of friendship. That's kind of cute. I like this guy, actually. You know, they check the feet chains that are around their ankles, and they do it to Hopper, and he makes a face, and it's like, obviously that probably hurts like a bitch, because he broke his ankle on purpose, like, you know what I mean? And I don't know really why. Like, I guess it's to get his, like, things off, like, yeah, I guess it's to, like, pull it off, you know? He broke it enough to, like, get the thing off his leg, whatever, but, like, I don't know. Yeah. It's whatever. Good enough explanation for me. I don't really care. Like, if people are like, oh, this wouldn't work, like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I'm getting to the point where I, like, literally hate people that only watch things to point out, like, flaws in reality. Like, well, in real life, this wouldn't work. And it's like, can you not just enjoy things? Like, please? If it's close enough, it's close enough. Like, let's enjoy entertainment. Like, you know. Especially in something supernatural. Yeah.
Just getting something to drink.
These FBI, or these government agents are, like, in California with Jonathan and them, like, just hanging out. They're, like, babysitting them, or whatever, these two government agents. And Jonathan's kind of annoyed. He's like, how does this house work? He's like, they're like, where are you going? He's like, getting something to drink. Is that allowed? Or how does this house arrest work? And they're like, you're not under house arrest. We're protecting you. And he's like, okay, well, I'm thirsty. Like, this is my house. And they're just watching TV. Seems like an easy job. For now. I'm assuming Jonathan definitely can't smoke weed with these, like, government official, off whatever they are, agents in his home. Then he sees Surfer Boy Pizza, and he's gonna try something. He's like, I'm hungry, we're hungry. This is kind of a nice house. Joyce selling encyclopedias on the phone is...
I mean, I just don't think they've actually thought this through. If this goes on for a month, or a month...
You dumbass. Mike crumples it up and throws it away, the note, because Will is like... you know, saying all the true things. Like, well, if we're gonna keep us here for months away from everybody, then people are gonna freak out. Mama's probably having a panic attack. And that woman's supposed to do... What about Hawkins? That woman's supposed to keep it contained. Like, anybody contain any of this without Elle. And then, like, Mike is staring at that note, and he's like, staring at that's not gonna make a change. Well, it's reading the filth for everybody. And Mike's like, yeah, no. And he crumbles it up and throws it in the trash can, and it's like, you might not... Yeah. You people. Anyway. Whatever. So, Will sits down, and they have a little heart-to-heart. Because they're best friends. Not just friends. Best friends. I'm making shippers so mad. Like, no, it's not even that I'm, like, making fun of shippers. I'm like, why would they do that? I'm like, you know, I'm like, like, they're trying, like, the show's trying to make y'all mad. Like, I'm not a shipper of, like, I'm not really a shipper of, like, Mike and Will or Mike and Elle. Either one. I ship, like, I really like Lucas and Max together. But, like, I wasn't a Mike and Elle shipper, but, like, now that the show's over, I'm, well, anyway. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but, like, yeah, I'm making fun of the writers for putting that in there, because it's like, you knew what you were doing, you were being mean. Anyway, they're having a heart-to-heart, and Will's haircut and outfit is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And not actually. So, like, I look at Will's outfit and his hair, and I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. Then I look over at Mike's, like, windbreaker sweater thing, and I'm like, oh, no. New worst thing. That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Why are they putting him in these clothes? They're so hideous. Okay. So Will's like, I'm worried about the people in Hawkins, and, like, they talk, and he's like, it looks like it's gonna be up to us again. And Jonathan walks in, and he's like, and I have a plan for that. And, like, he's like, they're talking about it, and I think Jonathan wants to go to Hawkins because of, like, Nancy too, you know? Like, because all this is going on, he's, like, worried about her, and, you know. And, he's got an idea, and he's like, I think I can get us a ride, a cheap one. And then, like, Mike goes into the living room, he's like, sir, excuse me, sir. And, like, the guy's like, what? And he's like, we're hungry. Or Will is like, we're hungry. And then he just holds up, like, the coupon from Surfer Boy Pizza, like, he's just like, we're hungry, and holds it up. And like, the way he does that is so funny. And that guy's like, well, I could eat. And so, like, they call and order pizza from Argyle, and he does this whole spiel of, like, try the pineapple and pizza. Don't try it. Don't deny until you try, or whatever. And it's whatever. Like, they want us to like him so badly, and it's just, you know, it's like, this is the one you thought we would fall in love with, and you kept him around, or whatever. Like, oh, well, spoiler alert. But, like, you know, you know, it's like you introduced Argyle and Eddie and thought we would like Argyle more than Eddie. You don't know your fans. Like, we're not here for the fun. Like, maybe he's more of, like, a season 3 thing, and it's like, yeah, no, there's a reason that people like first season better than season 3, but anyway. And Max has been writing things, and she's wrote a thing and put it...
What's up? You needed something?
She writes Billy on the back of this envelope. And they're all like, what is she writing? But anyway, they're staring at her, and she's like, I know you guys are staring at me. And they're like, what? Oh, what'd you say? Nothing. We're just hanging out. So pretend like they weren't watching her. And so she comes over. This is so sad. Okay. Like, this, how old is she? Like 14? You know? And like, she's basically like, I have who knows how many hours left of my life. I'm going to die. And like, she writes letters to her friends. Like, oh my gosh, it's so freaking sad. Like, oh, what kind of pressure is this for somebody her age? Oh, good gracious. Okay, so she's, they're all looking away, and she's like, you can look at me now. Like, look at her, and she hands them their envelopes, and, then she hands them one for Mike and Elle and Will, and she's like, in case you could never get a hold of them again. And, Dustin starts opening it, and she's like, no, don't open it now. And he's like, what is this? And she's like, it's a failsafe for after, in case things don't work out. And Lucas is like, Max, things are gonna work out. And she's like, no, don't tell me that things are gonna work out. People have been telling me that my entire life, and that's almost never true. And like, oh my gosh, that is so sad and so real. Like, you know, don't just lip service me, you know, about this. This is, you know, so many bad things have happened to her, and she was already like severely grieving Billy, which she feels responsible for. Like, and some people were like, you know, oh yeah, we should redeem him. He was great, actually. And it's like, no, that's not true. And then some people are like, she shouldn't have like felt bad at all because he sucks. And it's like, that's not true either. Like, I love how the show is doing this, because she's not saying that like, you were great. She's saying like, well, we'll get there, but like, you know, she is allowed to be sad. Like, Max deserves to be sad. Like, I don't care how much you don't like Billy, you like Max, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, her sadness matters, because she's awesome, even if Billy sucked. And so it's like, can we take the time to like, think about what this does to a girl her age, like, or anybody? Like, she was around him a lot, to say the least, and like, you know, we don't know if she's ever known anybody that died besides Billy, and especially somebody that was in her house all the time. It changes things. It changed things. Like, even though her stepdad sucked and he's gone, like, that's good, theoretically, but like, it still changed so much. And like, her mom is unhappy, and like, they're poorer now. Like, her mom had to get a job, and it's rough, and like, it's not all good just because the two guys that sucked are gone. Like, it's bad in some ways, you know, like, it's not saying that it's like, you know, good to stay with an abusive man, but like, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you leave either, you know, so it's like, there's problems here, and, you know, just logically there's problems, but also like, emotionally, you know, watching someone die like that, especially somebody you kind of considered a brother, even if you hated him, you know, that's hard to deal with. Okay. So Max is like, will this walkie reach Penhurst from East Hawkins? And I'm like, of course. And she's like, then take me. And then Steve's like, I'm not driving you anywhere. I don't know where you're going. And she's like, if you think I'm going to spend what could be the last day of my life in that armpit of a basement, of that armpit that is Mike Wheeler's basement, then, you know, you're crazy. And, she basically is like, Steve, you're not going to stop me from going there, so drive me, or I'm going to, you know, it's going to be child kidnapping. Like, you're going to have to tie me down if you want to stop me. So, that's child kidnapping, and I know a good lawyer. And he finally relents, and, he's like, but that walkie better reach Penhurst. And then she hears, like, the clock chiming again, and she's very nervous, and then we go to Penhurst, and, like, Nancy's pulling in, and this station wagon, which is, like, I hate station wagons, but anyway, we're gonna see what her and Robin are up to. So, this guy is not going to let them talk to Victor Creel, and then Robin loses her shit, and tells him the truth in a certain way, of, like, she makes up this fake story, but she's basically like, because we're girls, we can't see him, and I have this passion, I wanted to be you, like, you know, it's fantastic. I can't do it justice, you'll have to watch it, but it is fantastic, actually. Good job, Robin, Maya Hawk here, with her just ability to just lose her shit, but also say exactly what she needs to say. And so he's like, he relents and lets them, he's gonna take them to Victor. So, yeah. Good job, Robin. Give him the money first, like, dude. Half now, half later, at least. But, like, anyway, they don't know how to do this. But he makes up this story, like, they show up at Yuri's. They're like, where's Yuri? And he's like, Yuri's dead. He was killed by polar bears, and it broke his heart because he loved bears. And he's like, or rather punctured it. And then he's, like, laughing. He's atrocious. he is obnoxious, and it's bad. But they give him the money, all of it, right up front, to take them there. And I'm like, you haven't even got in the plane. Like, no, you get the money when you deliver. You deliver before I give money. Like, you know, at least half. You know, half and half or something. Like, you don't do this. But anyway, he offers them coffee. Yup, this makes so much sense. But anyway. So Hopper breaks his pickaxe and then goes to get another one. And then, what the shit? Oh. Oh, they look too realistic. My husband just sent me pictures of these creatures. Stuffed animals. Why? His work. Yeah. They'd be better if they were just... Yep, that's weird. Okay. Oh, wow. Anyway. He breaks his pickaxe and then goes and gets another one. There's like a shed for like other tools. And then the guy goes in to get him another one and he follows him in and like kicks his ass or like knocks him out. Then another guard notices he's gone very quickly and it's like, well, yeah. So his little plan is he's trying to get this thing off his foot. And so it's we'll see. So Hopper gets caught in this shed by another guard. He's fighting him, and the guy starts, like, shooting up in the air. So, like, you know, you're caught. Duck, cut, and run, you know what I mean? Like, that's your only option now. You're caught. Like, just go. Oh, Hopper sees some dynamite. Then he jumps out the roof, and then, like, the guards are, like, trying to get in the shed, but they get in there, and the dynamite's lit. And they're, like, trying to run away, and then it explodes, and Hopper's obviously, like, on the way out. On the other side, and he jumps on this, like, snowmobile, and, like, some guy sees him, but, like, they're like, don't let him get to the tree line, and he's, like, going up this hill on this snowmobile, and, like, they're shooting at him, but he makes it, and then, like, Enzo is, like, happy about it. He's, like, 100 to 1. He's, like, son of a bitch. Like, he's just so great. Okay. That was pretty cool. Not to be totally honest, but anyway. So, we go back to Steve's, what is it? What kind of car is this? Not the Beamer, whatever it's called. I don't know what it is. One of those fancy car names, but it's the ugliest car in the world. So he's like, oh, my very expensive type of car that's, like, so hideous. Like, it's almost as ugly as Nancy's station wagon. But anyway, they're going somewhere. And I think they're going to the trailer park first. She's going to give her mom a letter. It's sad. Lucas is, like, staring at this letter that Max gave him, and then he looks over at her, and then, like, he wants to say something, but he can't, so he gives up for a minute, or gives up for now. Then they take her to her house, and she's like, Steve's like, better be fast, Mayfield, and she's like, 20 seconds. Max is laying out notes for her dad, her granny. She wrote granny on there. My mom. I don't know who all these notes are for, but Dad and Granny and Mom is 3 of them, but I think there's another one. She sees her mom outside hang clothes on the line, which is like,
Mom. Yes, sweetie? I thought you were with your friends today. Yeah, I was. I am. Shouldn't you be at work?
Shouldn't you be at work?
Let me off early, so just catching up on some chores.
She's talking to her
I left
mom.
some letters inside.
Oh, Uncle Jack. Okay.
I don't understand. I just,
It's very realistic. So she tries to talk to her mom about what's going on, and her mom's like, it's gonna be okay, baby, and hugs her, and then she's like, nothing's gonna happen to you. nothing you don't deserve. And, like, the sky gets dark and it turns into Vecna, and he's like, your time is almost at an end and things. And then, like, she, like, he's hugging her, and she, like, pulls back and, like, falls on the ground and looks over, and, like, the clothes are clean now because she looked over and they were, like, covered in blood and stuff. And the sky was darkened and everything was bad. And, like, he was being an asshole. And, he's like, you've ruined everything. And, once she snaps out of it, she looks over and the clothes are on the line, and I'm like, did Vecna come and, like, do the laundry for this bit? Like, who hung those up there? You know, like, we know that his, like, he was pretending to be her mom, so it's like, and he was actually hanging clothes on the line, like, I'm doing it for the bit, I gotta do chores and everything. This is a hard job, being a interdimensional psychic serial killer. I gotta do people's laundry. Like, and trying to soften the moment, but Max is seriously upset, and it's like, when she thinks she's talking to her mom, it's like, first clue was like, her mom was supposed to be at work, and she wasn't, so it's like, yep. You gotta watch out for that kind of stuff. But, so, she goes back to the car, and they're like, what is it? And she's like, nothing, let's just go. And, like, she doesn't tell them what happened. He's like, your time is almost at an end. So, like, she's freaking out, but she doesn't want to talk about it. BMW, that's what kind of car Steve has. He calls it a Beamer. And it's not even cute. It's so ugly. But anyway, it's not even a good color. It's like dark brown. But anyway, I love this. I love this thread being in here. So they go back to Penhurst, and he's walking them through the gardens, and, like, people are outside, and he's like, we allow them 2 outside hours a day, and they're like, can't they just escape? He's like, they could, but most of them don't even want to. They like it here. Then they go into the listening room, and he's like, music has a particular calming effect on the broken mind. And it's like, tell me about it. Like, story of my life, bro. But anyway, I mean, honestly, and that's true. Like, that's not, you know, the Duffer Brothers didn't make that up. That's a real thing. And so they go through the music room, and then they go to the Hannibal Lecter basement, where they go to the end of the hall for the Lecter tour. He wants to be with them, though, but they're like, we can go in there by ourselves, it's fine. He lets them go in alone, but he's like, there's something rather urgent I need to check on. But he's gonna call and check on them, is what he's actually going to do. But he was called Dr. Bradley or Brantley or whatever it is, because Robin messed up the name. The Hannibal Lecter walked down the hall. Do not pass him anything. Stand 5 feet away. Yep.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why are you being mean to him?
Today's your lucky day. You got visitors. Real pretty ones.
Ooh, scratching. Ooh.
Must be in one of his moods. Have fun.
Yep, they're gonna talk to Victor, and his eyes are sewn shut
Victor?
because somebody pulled them out.
My name is Nancy.
Ugh.
Nancy.
Gross. Looks like it just happened. It's, Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, playing Victor Creel. And he's like, Hatch knows I don't speak to reporters. And Nancy's like, we're not reporters. We believe you. And whatever killed your family, we think it's back. And we need your help. And he turns around finally. They tell him their real names, too. So, like, first and last. I guess it shows trust. But anyway, which he doesn't know that they're not lying, but whatever. Then we see Shepherd Boy Pizza. And it's like, okay, the van. And it's like, pass the duchy, da-da-da-da-da. Mike is getting more mature, and he's like, I'm really sorry about this past year, and blah, blah, blah. And, I was like, I was being mean to Ellen, I deserved it, you know, and Mike's like, no, you didn't deserve anything, like, and I guess he's been hanging out with Max as well as Dustin and Lucas, but they're not the same, they're not Will, and he's like, we need to work together, as a team, friends, best friends. Oh gosh, he did it already in this season, but okay. And Will's like, cool, and he's like, cool. And like, they are best friends, like, but it's very sweet, but, you know, some people are not satisfied with that level. They want to take it to the next level, but Mike does not. Which is fair, like, okay, so, like, I don't think it's, like, you know, fine, like, you know, I you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not a shipper of these two, or, you know, whatever, but you know, yes, I see that they're trying to make it like, I see the point of, like, being mad, like, why did you make it seem like there could be more? But they kind of didn't, but they kind of did, but it's like, I don't know. Like, Mike really loves Will a lot as his best friend, but, like, I guess that could come across to some fans as, like, more. But I'm not, like, judging them for it, because it's like, well, I can kind of see why they might, because I wasn't sure that they weren't going to go there either. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know for sure that they wouldn't. But anyway. But it's okay to not, like, make Mike go there, but it's like, stop teasing that, you know what, stop teasing it, though, like, that's not necessary. I mean, like, at this point so far, I can see where they're like, yeah, there's no reason for you to think that, like, there could be, but, like, I know people who didn't even realize that Will was gay until he actually, like, said it out loud, you know, and it's like, how could you not have seen that? Like, that's ridiculous, like, that's crazy, but, like, people reading into Mike as being gay and into Will is like, it could go either way. You know what I mean? Like, they still have plausible deniability of, like, we were not trying to make him, like, into Will. And it's like, I can see that, but I can also see why people could read into it that you were. Like, it's not ridiculous or anything. But it's also not obvious. Like, it's not like, you know, they went back on something that they concreted down. It was like, it could have went either way with him. So how do you approach that and, like, still have them have this very close, like, best friendship? But the only thing that I thought was, like, totally egregious was, like, in season 5, you know, the one line, was completely unnecessary. The pause was so unnecessary, too, like, yeah, no, that was totally unnecessary. But, yeah, anyway, a vehicle approaches and probably squeals its tires, and it's the Dutchie. It's the sentient pot plant Argyle. My descriptions, guys, if you're not reading the descriptions of these episodes of all my podcasts, you're missing out. It is extreme with how funny I am. Like, I think it's funny. Maybe people don't think it's funny, but, like, I think it's funny, and, like, if you have my same type of humor, like, my descriptions are getting ever elaborate. They're, like, so long they don't even fit in the description box at some points, like, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's fun, though, and it cracks me up. But anyway, so, yeah. So, yeah, one agent gets shot, and the other one, they did this all in one take. Like, they had to do the entire thing in one take, and so it was, like, insane, you know, behind-the-scenes information there. But, yeah, they're all getting shot at, and they're, like, ducking behind walls, and, like, this other agent is, like, shooting and, like, protecting them. He really is protecting them, and it's, like, he saved their lives. And then they run outside, and Argyle's like, they're having a party and didn't invite me, because there's, like, all these Hummers outside, like, government Hummers. And then, like, they jump into the van, and they're like, drive, and then, like, he's, like, looks over, and there's this other guy coming at him. He's like, why does that guy have a gun? And they're like, drive! And he's in, like, the most obvious vehicle. Like, you could not hide this vehicle anywhere. Like, it's got a giant pizza box on the top, or whatever the heck. It's ridiculous. So, they get out of there, but they have been shot at, and the agent that was protecting them has been shot in the side. He's like, is that real blood? Like, Argyle's like, well, you know, this is not my usual delivering pizza. Like, this doesn't usually happen when I deliver pizza to people, but okay. And so they take off. And then this guy's still counting money in Alaska. I guess they're still in Alaska, like wherever they are before they fly off to Russia. But Joyce and Murray have drank coffee, and it was a terrible mistake because they're getting very sleepy. You said this was caffeinated. So Yuri counts the money, and it's like 40,000. It's all there, and Joyce is like, "Good, now do your part. Go get Hopper." And he's like, "First, I'll call Enzo and see if your friend is still alive. Because why would I waste the time and fuel?" And she gives him a dirty look. He's like, "I'm kidding." He's like, "But still, I should check." Fair enough, actually. But anyway, he leaves to go call Enzo, and Murray's like, "I don't like him." I'm like, seriously though, I don't like him either. He's awful. But then we see Hopper like driving through the snowy forest, and he's escaping. It's working. That's good. But like, it's episode 4, and we're kind of like, I mean, like, I guess he could, you know, go back to Hawkins and deal with all that with them, but like, you know, whatever. We didn't know how this was going to pan out, did we? But anyway, let's keep going. He is running through the snow barefoot, and like, let me tell you, like, he actually had to do that. I don't know where they actually are, but like, there was real snow, and it was real cold, and he had to run barefoot, so like, that probably sucked. And he goes to this church, and there's a key under a rock, and he goes in there, and there's this back room with all these supplies that people have smuggled in. There's lots of peanut butter, and he's like crying, eating peanut butter out of the jar with his hands, and it's like, it's actually moving. David Harbour is amazing. He looks terrible. Like, people are like, "He looks so hot," and I'm like, he's starving in a Russian prison. Like, not goals. Not goals. Honestly, that makes me want peanut butter pretty badly. Ooh, I have peanut butter ice cream. Oh my gosh. Like, I have the peanut butter Snickers ice cream bar. Oh, yes. I'm excited. We did like a groceries, like not a grocery, but like a gas station run last night, and my husband was like, "You want this and this and this?" And I'm like, "I only want one thing." And he's like, "You can have it later." And I'm like, now I'm glad that I listened to him. He's like, "We will have to do this. Like, the next time, you'll just go to the kitchen. We'll stock up on these different things." But yeah, I love peanut butter Snickers. I don't ever eat them hardly, like, just rarely. But, like, you know, they're a little treat whenever I feel, you know, like I need one. But then I saw that, like, we have one, like, literally, like, walking distance from my house. One of my houses. I got two. Well, you know. Which is, we're not going to go there right now. Where do you live? Girl, what? What do you mean? Like, you can look out the window and see my house. Whatever. Anyway, it's a whole big personal family matter thing. Weird. Like, so many people have asked me, like, I don't know. It's weird. But anyway. Confusion. Okay. But anyway. In one of the houses I live in, there's, and, like, I'm not saying, like, I'm a billionaire in multiple houses. I'm saying that, like, when me and my husband met, or like, well, when we reconnected, we both had our own house, so, like, we're keeping both of them. You know what I mean? Simple as that. Like, that's the explanation. Like, we're keeping them both. I'm not getting rid of my house just because, you know, whatever. And anyway, so at his place, there's like a gas station within walking distance, and so we frequently just, like, it's convenient. But anyway, they had these ice cream bars that are like peanut butter Snickers ice cream bars, and I'm like, I wonder what that's like. So yeah, he got me one, and I haven't eaten it yet, and I'm excited. Hopper's making me want peanut butter. But anyway, so back at the prison, they're like, suspicious for Enzo because he's on the phone with Yuri, and they kind of, like, arrest Enzo. And I think they get him to tell them where Hopper's hiding. It's like, you turncoats! But I still like Enzo. Like, he's, you know, he knows how brutal these guys are, and especially because he's one of them. They're probably more brutal. I don't know. But anyway. Okay, so yeah, I was wrong. Enzo, yeah, I forgot. Enzo did not turncoat. It was Yuri. Like, I knew Yuri, I knew Yuri did. But, I was thinking that Enzo did too. So yeah, no, it was all Yuri. He turned in, they offered him even more money to turn, he called them and was like, I know some stuff, give me money. And they're like, sure. And he turned in Enzo, and he turned in Hopper, and he knew where the church was, and they're like catching Hopper at the church. And so both Enzo and Hopper are going to end up in the Russian prison, so that's not working. And he's also not taking Joyce and Murray, supposedly. Yeah, we're going to see what he does. But, like, Yuri screwed everybody, and Yuri sucks. So, yeah, Murray was right. We do not like Yuri. Then we get back to Hawkins, finally, and there's
Turn here.
Max, and she's telling them to turn.
Here?
She wants to go to the cemetery. Yikes. I do love this moment with, Lucas jumps out of the car.
Lucas, please, just wait in the car.
Just wait.
Lucas, just wait.
That was very good of Lucas. Like, Max gets out of the car and he like, chases her down. He's like, listen, you know, like, he makes her talk to him. He's like, I don't need a letter. I don't want a letter. I'm right here. Just talk to me. Like, you can talk to me. And, like, it's so sad. Oh, my gosh. And he's so good. Like, he's so good. But, like, she doesn't need, like, she's not ready for that yet. Like, it's good of him, but it's also, like, she can't face it yet. Like, she cannot talk to him yet. Like, it's too... She's you know, walls up completely. And so then we, like, hear Nancy talking to Victor, and she's like, our friend described it like a trance, like a walking nightmare. And, like, she's telling him what's going on, and he starts telling her about what happened to him and his family. And it's very informative, and it would go into, like, a flashback in the 1950s, and it's very important. Pay attention to the scene. If you're watching the show, pay attention. So, like, he's telling that, because she's like, we didn't even know how you survived that night. He's like, survived? He's like, do I look like I survived? And he's all messed up, and he's like, he says that he's still in hell. And then he's like, I had been back from the war 14 years, and we go into a flashback, and it's a very cute little 1950s card, him and his little nuclear family. He's even wearing, like, a fedora type hat, and he's got a little girl and a little boy and a wife and stuff, and they're all like, nuclear family, perfect family, you know. And I think this boy is supposed to be 14, because he says, I've been back 14 years, but he looks much younger, and I think that's a little confusing, but it's fine. I have to say, I do like stained glass on that door. It's very, like, you know, iconic at this point, but it's also like, I like stained glass. But her uncle had died and left a small fortune, and they bought a very nice house. And it is a very nice house. It's huge. And it's got a stained glass door, and that's pretty cool. But it's also terrifying at this point in my life. Okay, so, the wife likes the house and all this, and he's telling them about living in the house with his family. He's like, Alice, his daughter, said it was like a fairy tale, but my boy Henry was a sensitive child. He sensed something was wrong. We had 1 month of peace in the house, and then, like, animals started appearing near our home, dead and mutilated, and, he's like, rabbits, cats, chickens, even dogs. You know what I mean? If you know, you know. And, he's like, the police said it was a wildcat, but, this was no wildcat. And he was like, it shows him, like, Alice is in this, like, jungle gym, and she sees a dead rabbit, and, like, there's mutilated animals showing up near the house. And, you know, lights flickering in the house. The dad Victor is sitting on the porch with a gun, like, trying to figure out what's going on. So, yeah. He tells them of the horrors, spiders coming out of the bathtub. He's like, this is an evil, you know, that was in our house. And he's like, they were having nightmares even while they were awake. Stuff like that. Bad stuff, you know, and it's like, yeah, pretty bad. And he says that it had cursed the town and the home, and then something's missing. With the radio, Dream a Little Dream of Me was playing. Now there's like lights flickering. And then the mom just gets taken up in the air and snap, crackle, pop like Chrissy. And I guess the same thing happened to Alice.
Virginia first.
Took Virginia first, life. And then Alice is screaming. I tried to get the children out and save them. Alice dies. Same thing happens to Alice, but he gets taken into like a flashback from his war times, trauma.
I had thought German soldiers were inside.
And he heard Ella Fitzgerald and it brought him out. He followed the sound of Ella Fitzgerald, and then he was back in his home, and Alice is dead, and Henry is passed out. Well, he said the evil took his... Henry slipped into a coma. A week later, he died. So, like, both his kids died. He tried to join them. He's the one that cut his eyes out with a razor. Because he wanted to be with his family. And that's so freaking sad. Like, this guy's totally innocent. I mean, not totally innocent about the war crimes thing, but, like, everything else. And Nancy's like, who is this angel you followed out of there? And he just starts humming Dream a Little Dream of Me. And then the director comes in and is like, I just had a discussion with Dr. Brantley, and perhaps we should discuss it in my office as we wait for the police. And so they're caught. And Max is sitting in front of Billy's grave. Oh, why am I recording? She's reading Billy his letter. Max is telling Billy's grave, like, everything's been a disaster since you left, and the worst part is I can't tell anybody that you saved Elle's life and that you saved my life, and that moment plays in my head all the time, and it's like, this is extreme. This is extreme. Like, it is what it is, too. Like, he did do that, you know what I mean? Like, he sucked as a person, but, like, he also really did save their lives on purpose. And so it's like, he sacrificed his life for these people, too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's both things. Like, that's the beauty of it, is there's, like, this, you know, he was such a bad person, like, on purpose. And he also, on purpose, like, gave his life to save these people because he had been used as a tool to, like, help cause the problems, and, like, he knew that, and also he just, you know, there was a part of him that was also good, you know what I mean? Like, he contained multitudes, and I love that. And so, like, when people try to put him in one box or the other box, it's like, no, he's in both boxes. Like, he did both things for real, you know? So it's like, that's the beauty of it. He realistically was a racist asshole, and he also realistically gave his life to save these people, you know, and it's, you know, and 11. Like, he didn't even really know her. You know what I mean? And, like, anyway, people can be more than one thing. And both things are 100% true about them, and still, you know, they are. And so, and especially with Max dealing with this truth, and, like, wow, you know, like, I relate to this. Wow, yeah. I didn't realize, like, this, like, matches a thing, which I'm, like, not still that upset about, but, like, it really, yeah. Yeah, I totally, this is so real. Well, if we're going to be totally brutally honest on the podcast, like, one of my best friends, one of my close friends who I love dearly, raped me, and he became a monster in my mind. And so, like, but then he passed away. And I was relieved that he was gone, and I wouldn't have to run into him at the store and feel that terror of like, you know, I would freeze every time I would see him, and like, it was awful feeling. But then, like, also, I was so devastated that he was gone because of, like, the friend that had, you know, that I was grieving this friend, and, like, he was both things. It's like, was he a good friend, or did he do that to me? It's both. The answer is both. Both, actually. Like, neither thing is not true or canceled out by the other. You know? And that's a very important thing for people to know. That, like, I know this was a good person, so he couldn't have done this to someone. That's not true. And it doesn't mean that, like, well, he wasn't really a good person because he did this to someone. It was like, he did a lot of good things. He, like, when he did good things, he meant it. And when he did the bad thing, he meant it. He really did it. Both things are true. Just, that's reality. Like, it just is. And we need to, like, accept that. Like, somebody can be super good to you and really mean it and be sincere and also rape somebody else. Or, to me, he was good to me and also raped me. Like, you know, both things are true. You know what I mean? Like, at some times he did good things to me. And then, like, you know, sincerely. And then he also did what he did to me. And then hated me for it. You know, and was mean and cruel to me afterwards. And both things are true. Billy's kind of flipped on that, where he was bad at first, and then he's, you know, sacrificed himself to save people. People can be more than one thing. And even to one person individually. Like, he was mean to Max, and he also saved her life. You know. It's very important to reconcile with that. And so, and also, because Max doesn't deserve this, you know what I mean? Like, this is sad because she doesn't deserve this. She doesn't deserve, like, the survivor's guilt, you know, that she has. And, like, her stepdad was mean to Billy, but then, like, when Billy was gone, he started being mean to her mom, and then he left. He's the one that left, and he left her mom without any money. She had to take on a second job, and their life kind of sucks. And so, yeah. So, she's pretty upset. See, she acknowledges that. She's like, I imagine that, every time I think about it, I imagine that I run to you and I save you and you're still here. And then we can become friends, like good friends, like a real brother and sister. And she's like, I know that's stupid because you hated me and I hated you. She's acknowledging the reality of their relationship was not good. But she imagines that, like, after all that, maybe, you know, he would have changed. You know, or whatever. And it's like, and even if he hadn't, like, she's grieving for the brother she didn't have as much as she's grieving for the one she did. And that's valid. It's very valid. This is very good, like, psychologically. Like, this fits with, like, what could possibly really happen in situations similar to this. Of course, you know, they're not going to be, like, you know, supernatural, but still, you know, somebody that's horrible to you dies and you grieve for them anyway, because you're grieving, you know, you could be grieving for, you know, the good brother you didn't have or what have you. So this is really mature of her to be able to put her thoughts into words like this. She's like, I hope that you can hear this. I don't know if you can, but I really hope you can. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Billy. And she's like, love your shitty little sister, Max. And, like, you know, like, the real Billy, like, I wonder, like, you know, and it's, you know, like, I know he was an asshole, and I'm not saying that, like, all that is erased, but, like, he was an abused teenager, and I'm not taking the side of the people who are like, he was good all along. No, that's not true either, but, like, you know, there is always hope for somebody to be redeemed as long as they're alive, but, like, he's not. And, like, he did give his life, and that was, like, one final act of, like, retribution, kind of, for all the shitty things he had done, but, like, yeah, it is tragic, you know what I mean? Like, that's the tragedy of it, kind of. It's like, he, you know, he never got a chance to change, you know what I mean? And he was very young, you know, he's only, like, what, 18 or something, and so, like, yeah. Like, there are reasons, like, him being abused and stuff, and his you know, his hardships growing up are the reason he was shitty. It's not an excuse, though, but I mean, he still made his choices, but, like, they are the reason, and so, like, that can definitely be, you know, he could have been redeemed, but he did not get the chance fully to do that. Like I said, his sacrifice was not meaningless, and it was not without merit. Like, he definitely had a good part of him to have done that, you know what I mean? Like, he definitely had good in him to have done that, but, and, like, even while he was, like, you know, threatening Elle in the cabin scene, you know, Vecna is saying all these mean things to her, and he's gonna destroy everyone, and Billy is crying about it. Like, Billy didn't want to be doing all the things that, like, the Mind Flayer was making him do. Like, he was a racist asshole, but, like, he wasn't a genocidal maniac, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't to that level. He was not cool with that. He didn't want to hurt Karen, you know, he didn't want to go that far. Like, he wasn't pure evil, like, violent evil. He was just, well, he was somewhat, yeah, he was violent somewhat, but, like, a teenage asshole kind of violent and racist asshole, but not, like, Hitler, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't that level of bad. Even, like, without any prompting, he wasn't that bad. So, you know, there's levels. But, yeah, he definitely didn't want to, like, kill people and stuff. So, even on his own, like, while the Mind Flayer was telling Elle stuff, Billy was crying. Like, he didn't want to be doing that. He didn't even want to be saying those things. Like, so, you know, like, even just threatening her like that was making him cry. So, like, he wasn't pure evil, but, like, you know, he definitely could have been redeemed and could have changed. And so, like, Max is grieving that as much as she's grieving, like, not having him around. Like, she's grieving, like, what he could have been. And he could have, you know, like, we saw that there was goodness in him. So that's very mature of her to realize that, and, like, and she doesn't fully understand it either, but, like, you know, that is just reality. But then something worse happens here. The sky darkens, and then eerie laughter. This is, oh my gosh, Dacre is such a good actor. We hear somebody say Max, and she's sitting there, and Steve is like, she's taking too long, so Steve's going up there. He's like, I'm calling it. She wants to get a lawyer, she can. So, good call, actually, because they go up there, and she's in a trance. She's just sitting there. Her eyes are rolled back, and she's in a trance, and this is bad. Oh my gosh. And so Billy's coming towards her, like, with his gravelly voice, like, I've been waiting to hear those words, Max, waiting so very long. And you can kind of tell that it's a little, his voice is just a little distorted, and you can tell it's, like, not supposed to be fully Billy. Like, you know, he's just an illusion. It's not, like, the real Billy. And, but it is Dacre, and, like, Dacre makes such a good villain. Like, he's fantastic as a villain, though. Like, he's so, like, menacing. He's really good at being menacing in, like, this very calm way, and Dacre is such a fantastic actor. Like, so underrated. Very, very underrated. And so, Steve is like, Max, you know, wake up, and, like, Dustin and Lucas are like, what's going on over there? And then they get the, like, you know, they run over there, and she's, like, you know, they're flipping out because she's in a trance. Oh my gosh. And so, like, Billy says all this stuff, like, you're relieved, you know, like, and you feel guilty because you were relieved that I was gone and stuff. And she's like, no. And, like, maybe that's somewhat true, but she's denying it still. And so, like, I don't think it's really true, but, like, you know, it wouldn't be wrong of her to feel that way either. You know what I mean? Like, to feel somewhat relieved. Like, it actually wouldn't be wrong for her to feel that way too, a little bit. But anyway, I mean, he abused her all the time. Like, him being dead is a relief, sort of. Like, there's a part of her that probably is relieved, and she probably feels guilty, and he's like, you know, taunting her about it, and like, he's like, that's why you can't face your friends, because you feel guilty. And then she falls back, and like, because he's like stepping towards her, and like, Dacre filmed this in Australia, and they like cut it into this, which is like, they did a good job. He looks like he's really there. But anyway, not to take everybody out of the scene, but like, good job for that. But anyway, she falls back and then looks up, and it's Vecna, and he starts talking to her, and he's like, that's why it's time to end your suffering, because he's like, you've wished to join me into death, you know, whatever. And as Billy, he said that. And then like, she looks up, and there's Vecna, and he's like talking, which is like, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but like, Jamie Campbell Bower, which is kind of a tongue twister of a name. Jamie Campbell Bower is doing Vecna's voice. Like, that's just him. That's not like, they're not doing something to his voice to make him sound like that. Jamie can do that voice, which is like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, there's video evidence of him doing that live, and it's insane. I'm like, how? You know, and like, he's a metal singer sometimes. Like, he sings, and like, some of his songs are metal, so he does like the metal scream and the growl and stuff. So like, he was prepared for this. And he can do that voice, which is super impressive. Jamie Campbell Bower is like top-notch acting as well. Like, in season 5, I'm gonna go on and on about it. This is great too, but like, I'm gonna go on about Jamie Campbell Bower as well. But like, yeah, fantastic. Especially when I found out that was just him and not them doing something to his voice or using distortion. They might be doing like an echo, but like, there's like almost no distortion there. And so, like, that's all him, pretty much. And so, like, like I said, they might be doing sort of an echo or, like, a microphone, like, type of thing, but, like, or ADR or something, I don't know. But, like, that's him. Like, he can do that voice. And so, like, that's insane. And, so she gets up and takes off running. She's running from Vecna. It's very bad. This is bad. And she's in a trance, like, this is, you know, in her mind. Steve coming in for the clutch, like, they're, you know, trying to get her to wake up, and Steve grabs Dustin, he's like, call Nancy and Robin, go! And like, good call. Steve is making great calls left and right. Good job, Steve Harrington, great. Alright, awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, it's their only hope. I mean, like, they don't have any hope here, they have no idea, but like, still, great call. And Dustin runs and gets the walkie-talkie and calls Nancy and Robin like, we got an issue. Claire Delude. So Dustin's like, Code Red, Nancy, Robin. And then like, Nancy and Robin are at Penhurst and they're being walked out. And Nancy's like, our friend is a danger. You have to believe me. You gotta do this, blah, blah, blah. But like, Robin, they're walking through like the listening room again. Somebody's playing like Claire de Lune. And like, Robin notices that and thinks about it and is like, oh, like, Victor heard a song, and he said this, you know, and she's putting 2 and 2 together, like, snap, snap, snap. Robin and Steve coming in with all the wins here, and like, good job, guys. Great pair. Alright. They figure out that music can be a lifeline. It can reach parts of the brain that words can't. So, like, then they take off running. They kick off their shoes. A guy at the asylum was like, Cinderella, you dropped your shoe. That's great. So they're like running barefoot through this asylum. That's great. And they run to the car and they're like, it's worth a shot, you know, the music thing. But they take off running. And that's good. And they run to the car. Max is running from Vecna in the cemetery in her mind, and she's trying to hide, and he's like, you cannot hide from me, Maxine. And then like Nancy and Robin get in the car and they go. They're gone. Awesome. Awesome.
Holy shit. You really are weird, Raine.
So they hear Dustin's code red. Dustin! It's Robin. And she's like, tell me you haven't figured out. She's like, it's music. And so Max is running more, screaming for Lucas and Dustin. And then she sees a red thing. She sees redness and she goes towards it, and she gets in a different part of her mind, or like there's like a storm and redness, and Dustin's looking for music, and he runs back to, he's carrying like her Walkman and tapes. And Max is walking through this like red cemetery, and it's like wet squelching and vines, and she sees like all these like floating pieces of rock and like a storm and like a destroyed house, a staircase that goes nowhere. It's like crazy. I don't have to explain the whole thing, but like I'm just, you know, commentary. Dustin's like, what's her favorite song? And Lucas is like, why? And he's like, Robin said that just, it's too long to explain. Just, what's her favorite song? This clock chime is amazing. The way it's like a distorted clock chime, it's fantastic. There's the door with the rose on it. Stained glass rose. Like, something's going on here. Like,
What are you doing in here, Max?
What are you doing in here, Max? Like, ew, a bunch of spiders. Yucky. Spider eggs and spiders.
Come back to me.
He's like, ooh, there's Chrissy in a vine thing. Ugh. She's trapped in here. She's all distorted, but like, she is cracked, and it's crazy. But, yeah, Vecna's like surprised that Max made it in here, kind of. Like, he's like, what are you doing in here, Max? Like, I think he didn't know that she could get to this part of like the inner mind thing. I think she's in his mind. You know what I mean? Like, she's in a place that he didn't think she could go, and like, yeah. There's this like tree-like thing that like Chrissy's all wrapped up in vines and attached to it, and I think Fred's here. Fred's here too somewhere, but I don't know if we get to see him yet. But yeah, Max is freaked out. Yep. There's Fred. Vecna says that, would you like to join them? He captures her with a vine. He just moves his hand, and like the vine gets her leg. He pulls her up to like this other tree-like thing, and she's like tied to it. Well, and the vine is like choking her, and he like smiles at her. Ugh. They're looking for like a tape, and she's trapped. The guys finally find it. They start playing Kate Bush, and then she sees an opening back to the graveyard, and they're yelling at her. Vecna's like, they can't help you.
There's a reason you hide from
There's a
them.
reason you hide from them. Ugh. She's like, you're not really here. And he's like, oh, but I am, Max. And then he like does his hand thing, and she like lifts up into the air in real life. And he's getting ready to do the thing, and then she looks over and sees herself, and then she has memories, and Lucas saying, I'm right here, and like, this is the part where like, when she lifts in the air, my dad was like, where's she going? But she starts having these flashbacks of like good memories, and like, the best one is like with her and Elle, and they like clap hands together, they're giving each other 5, and like that slap just like snaps her out of it. She grabs the vine off of Vecna's like hair, whatever it is, and like pulls it off, and then like he lets her go, and then oh my gosh, it's crazy. And Kate Bush is playing this whole time, so it's like this scene is unexplainable. Like, you have to watch it, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have the impact if you just explain it, but it's like incredible. Like, she remembered all the good times with all of her friends, and like her kiss with Lucas, and then even after her kiss with Lucas, like, she remembers her and Eleven's like high five, and that's what actually like seals the deal and just wakes her up, snaps her out of it, and she's just takes off, and like there's all these things flying at her. He's throwing all these things at her, and she's running. Yes, you can do it. I'm so emotional. And she runs and runs and runs, and like Vecna sneers at her, and she makes it, and then like she opens her eyes up in the air, and she drops to the ground, and like she backs up, and like Lucas is holding her, and he's like, you know, they're like, oh, we thought we lost you, and she's like, I'm still here, and she's like shivering, and like her like mouth is quivering. It's so freaking good. Like, oh my gosh, Emmys all around for everybody. Like just great. Like, especially like Sadie right there, like fantastic. Like, that was like, it's so emotional. Even if I'm like commentating and like taking myself out of it but talking about it, it still was like so emotional that I'm like on the verge of crying still. Like, and it's such good metaphor for like trauma and stuff. Like, you feel like you're in this hole that you can't get out of, and like music and memories of people that love you like will pull you out of that and stuff, and it's so real and it's so great. I love that. Fantastic. Just, oh my gosh, such a good, you know, you have these anchors in life that bring you back to reality, and how, you know, you're not in a dark pit, you know what I mean? And it's so great. It's so great. This is so great a metaphor for that, because that's what, like, all the people that are Vecna's victims are people that are like, or teenagers that are like traumatized, and he's using their trauma against them, you know, and being like, you need to be here, and like he's the manifestation of like people's depression and stuff, and it's like he's a metaphor of the manifestation. He's like a he's like a metaphor and a manifestation of people's like trauma and depression and guilt and all that, like anything involved with trauma. And so it's like he's trying to make them believe there's no way out, and like that's not truth, you know what I mean? And like this is so good. Like, how you know, like, oh my gosh, such a good metaphor, and like such a good, like, you know, and it makes me like, you know what you're doing. Who is doing this? Like, you know, Justin Doble, I think, is the one that wrote that episode. I didn't go into all that with like the IMDb like I usually do. Oops, sorry. I think Justin Doble, I think I saw at the beginning, was the one that wrote that episode, but oh my gosh. Like, the Hawkins scenes are so much better than like the Russia, Alaska things, and even the California things. Like, and we didn't see 11 anymore. I didn't think we would. But still fantastic. And Max carried that episode emotionally, just amazing. And Robin and Nancy were doing pretty good too. Like, it's very Stranger Things and Hawkins, you know what I mean? And it's like, I kind of hate like taking it out of Hawkins, like, in a way, because it kind of like broadens the world that they are in, and it's not as isolating, and I feel like that takes away from some of the like emotional pressure and like tension, you know, and things like that. So I'll definitely prefer the like Hawkins stuff, but like I'm excited to see more of 11 next episode, because there's a lot of emotional stuff there, and a lot of trauma-based things there, and I wish I had covered these before I saw season 5, because now I have some carried over, like, you know, this was peak, like, season 1 and season 4 are, like, peak Stranger Things, and, like, you could not get better than season 1. Like, season 1's definitely the best, but it's so, like, because it's so compressed, it's not, you know, as a standalone thing, season 1 could have stood alone as like the best series of TV ever. You know, like it's perfection, and you know, they did leave the dangling thread of like, is 11 okay? But like, it could have worked. You know what I mean? There was still hope and stuff, and so she was, and so, you know, which, yeah, you know, you can say that now, but it's still like a little, you know, whatever happened, you know, whatever. But still, we weren't as attached. But anyway, it made more sense back then. Everything that they used to explain it made more sense with that one. But anyway, I'm not going to go there too much. But anyway, but yeah, aside from season 1, like, season 4 is peak, like, perfection. Like, I mean, but like I said, like, the Russia thing it's not bad, but it's not, like, contributing to, like, it kind of takes you out of, like, the Hawkins feeling, you know, and I would have preferred to stay in Hawkins, honestly, and, like, even if we had to have 11 do the whole thing where she's doing, like, we could have had that, you know, separately. You know, them going to California, like, I didn't think they needed to do all that, but whatever. Like, the metaphor for, like, the music and the mental illness, trauma stuff is just, like, peak writing, and it just keeps, you know, this episode was fantastic. It was one of the best episodes of the entire series, and everybody agreed, especially, like, the ending there. I think that solidified it. Like, if you end good, you have to start good and end good in an episode to really, because there were some things in between there that were kind of like, whatever, like, Yuri sucks. But, like, that ending was just, it gave you, like, such a feeling, you know, that was just peak. And so, like, but from here, you know, I think that it also, like, there's a lot of good things in the later episodes, too, like, coming up, and, like, writing-wise, as far as, like, what's good writing and, like, plot twists and things, like, they really nailed it for things that felt satisfying, made sense, you know, like, it hit all the like, it checked all the boxes here, and for this season. This season really checked all the boxes that you would need for, like, a plot twist and things like that, so it's definitely satisfying, and we'll get into that when we get to those twists and things, but, anyway, we're setting up great things. I love music. I love the 21 Pilots bringing, you know, Stranger Things into their concerts. You know, when they play Heathens, they play, like, clips of Stranger Things. And, like, music can save everyone. And, like, I've always felt like, you know, when I first watched season 1, like, I was watching, like, different edits on YouTube of, like, songs with scenes. And, like, Heathens was one of the main ones that really fit there. And, I think probably 21 Pilots saw that, and they love Stranger Things, and it makes sense that they do because of the Outsiders element and things, and that's who it's for and all that. That's a perfect song to set with, you know, Stranger Things stuff. And so they incorporated that in their concert, and it's like, everybody was just hyped on Stranger Things after season 4, and then, like, some idiots got like, oh, it's cringe to like Eddie still, and it's like, after a month or two, and it's like, no. Like, we don't do things like that. Like, yeah, that's why, you know, I could get into the whole gatekeeping thing. I think I've done it before, but, like, I don't like gatekeeping, but sometimes it's necessary just to keep, like, people like that out. Like, you guys are dorks. And it's like, yeah. Like, stay out of our fandoms. Like, we're gonna like Eddie until forever, you know? Like, that's not a thing that's gonna stop. It's not, we're not doing it to be cool, or else, you know, we wouldn't like him to begin with. The whole reason people like him and relate to him is because he's an outsider, you know, not because he's cool for the moment. Like, and they're like, oh, I didn't like his speech, and it's like, yeah, that's like the thing that we like, because he was right, you know, like, it's just, you know, the whole thing. But anyway, I think I probably have covered all that in previous episodes of this podcast, and I'm not going to get into my personal life on this episode of the podcast. I might do a special, like, my personal life episode, just to talk about stuff I want to talk about. I guess that I did the freestyle poem, but they rejected it, so I guess it was a little too over the top of, like, things that I'm not allowed to talk about. I think I know the line, which it was like a metaphor, well, kind of, but, like, you know, yeah, I guess I can see why they wouldn't let me get away with that, but whatever. Anyway, I'm really excited to be finished with this episode, and, I'm here, like Lucas said. No, but honestly, like, I'm excited to do the next episode whenever I can. I'm working on editing Vixen. I finished a children's book, like I said. I'm working on the next installment of Ren Alden Mysteries. I'm going to do a few of those before I start on my next book. And yeah, I've been working on my website, so check out rainfielder.com You know how to spell it, with an E. And, yeah, there's little fun things there, and I'm going to be adding some more stuff later on, and just casually adding stuff for fun, and, you know, just making sure everybody can easily access all the things that they want to see involving my work. And I'm also thinking about starting finding somewhere to share my artwork, my visual artwork. So I don't know about that yet, but you know, that might be a thing. So anyway, yeah. You can be late to a 1-year-old's birthday party. That little idiot's not going to remember it anyway. Memorable on there, Murray. See you guys later.